Stardew Valley isn't cozy. It's communist propaganda. And there's a ton of proof. Everything from the story, to the characters, to the game mechanics. To the point I can't believe I'm the only one who's made this video. Trust me, by the end, you'll never look at Stardew Valley the same way again. But you won't be able to understand any of it if you don't know the difference between communism and capitalism. And because my school failed me, I'll have to explain this with Dino Nuggies. In capitalism, that's our system right now, you have Dino Nuggies. You work for them, you bought them, they're yours. You can eat them, sell them, share them, whatever they want. They belong to you. But there's a problem. Some people have more nuggies. Maybe they worked harder, maybe they got lucky. Maybe their parents gave them nuggies. And some people, they have no nuggies at all. That's just how it works. Oh, and the government takes some of your nuggies too. They do it by using something called taxes. And that's bad. As you can see, there's a lot of problems. So, how do you fix capitalism? Boom, it's communism, bitch. In communism, nobody owns the nuggies. They belong to everyone. You make nuggies? Great. Someone else needs nuggies, they get some. Everyone shares the nuggies and gets what they need. Oh, and no taxes on your house or land, because you don't own a house or land. Nobody does. Everything belongs to everyone. Sounds better, right? But communism just can't help itself, because when it sees capitalism, it goes, and the only thing communism loves more than hating capitalism is jerking itself off about how great it is. They don't call it communism for nothing. But like every effective propaganda, Stardew Valley wants to persuade you into communism. So how does it do it? Stardew Valley begins by showing us the horrors of capitalism. Joja employees are put in small cubicles separated from one another. The place is filthy and broken down. Oh yeah. And someone died. But in case you haven't noticed how trash capitalism is, you get a letter from your grandpa telling you that the most important thing isn't money. It's the connections you're missing. So he gives you his crop orphanage on Stardew Valley. And you go there and pay no mortgage, no rent, or the landlord. It's all yours. Because taxes suck. But you see, Stardew Valley's story is a bit complicated. Just like how you can't have capitalism and communism at the same time, the game forces you to choose which path to go with. Either you join the evil Joja Empire and expand its capitalist market, or you help build the community center, bringing the communist utopia to Stardew Valley. So let me show you what this looks like. It's clear from the start that the Joja consumerist culture is turning the valley into the love canal, destroying everything to increase its profits. And you can see that through its representative, Morris, who has a lot of dough. You could say he's Mr. Abel. But the real nail in the coffin is the mayor of Stardew Valley, Lewis, who he himself is strangely a capitalist, despite being the supposed leader of this anti-capitalist paradise. You can find out about this by digging around the back of his house. There, you'll discover a golden statue through secret note number 19. Place it in town, and things get interesting. Suddenly, the statue disappears, and you get a mysterious 750 gold deposit. At first, it seems random, but if you look around Pelican Town, you'll notice the minecarts are broken, the bus station abandoned, and the community center is falling apart. The town is literally crumbling. Yet Lewis has enough money for a life-size golden statue of himself. There seems to be no other explanation other than to say he straight up stole from the town's piggy bank. And when you caught him, he tried to buy your silence. That's not just corruption, that's capitalism at its finest. Leaders enriching themselves while the sewers are in such bad shape, they're producing Walmart trash Teenage Mutant Ninja Shadows. Remember what I said, communism loves to show you why capitalism sucks. Because if capitalism is the disease, communism is a cure. And it doesn't stop at corrupt majors and evil corporations. It goes deeper. It shows you real people whose lives have been destroyed by capitalism. Take Shane, a seemingly normal guy who works at Joja Mart. His only issues? Beer for breakfast and staring at the void in the saloon every night. Don't believe me? Well, in his 6 heart event, you find him on a cliff edge, drunk and with unaliving tendencies. So what's causing his depression? Well, it's his soul-crushing job at Joja Mart, stocking shelves for minimum wage, getting yelled at by Morris, no benefits, no future. Work 9 to 5, drink at the saloon, sleep, repeat. That's capitalism gives to Shane. A life so monotonous, it makes you want to step off a cliff. But once Joja Mart shuts down, Shane stops working there and finds purpose caring for future KFC members. Because if corporate work was the problem, community was the solution. And he's not the only one suffering. Pam was a bus driver before the bus broke down, thanks to Lewis' permanent borrowing of the town's money. Public infrastructure hasn't been maintained for decades. Pam lost her job. Now she's unemployed, spending her evenings at the saloon, just like Shane. But over the course of the game, the bus does get fixed, not by the government, but by you, the player. In other words, the system has failed and you have to take control. And it's not just you who realizes this, because there's no school in Petticone Town. Penny, one of the characters, decides to tutor the children for free while living in a trailer with her perpetually drunk mother. She's providing education, a public good, out of her own pocket. But why is education dependent on the charity of a poor young woman? Where is Major Lewis? Where's the money? The answer? There is none. The system has abandoned these people. There is a solution. Communism. Communism. It's a communism. The Junimos are these little apple-shaped forest spirits that have taken up residence in the community center. A place so structurally questionable that health inspectors would have to invent new failing grades. But instead of asking for rent or complaining about the conditions, they ask for gifts of the valley in return for their help. And when you complete a bundle, the Junimos don't reward you with personal gain. They help the community. Every single bundle you complete benefits everyone in town. Fix the pantry bundles, the Junimos repair the greenhouse for everyone. Finish the boiler room, the minecarts get fixed. Public transportation for all. And if you complete the vault, they repair the bus, giving Pam her job back and letting the whole town travel to the desert. These aren't rewards for you, they're rewards for everyone. The Junimos are teaching you that working together for the common good creates benefits that the entire community share. That's textbook communism. And here's where it gets really obvious. If you go down the Georgia route and avoid fixing the community center, you miss out on the Junimos entirely. But if you complete the community center, the Junimos not only return to the forest, but they also smite the Joja Mart with lightning, creating a totally rad new movie theater. In short, choosing capitalism makes the magic leave the world. And the game doesn't just show you this through forest spirits. Nah. It shows you through real people who've rejected the system entirely. At first glance, Lionel seems to be your average hobo, a cast out whose only purpose is to curate dumpsters. But if you actually interact with him, you'll soon learn the truth. Linus wasn't telltaled into this life. He chose it. He constantly tries to be one with nature. And the game acknowledges this. Never once is he presented as a failure. Instead, he's presented as a self-reliant and content individual, often even giving the player advice about foraging, the mines, and nature. Even when you try to give him money, he says, "No, thank you. I have no desire for money. In fact, I think it's hers." Because he has what I lack. Standards, morals, a spine. He has values and he sticks to them. Meanwhile, I'm out here min-maxing my crop with my gooby-dooby goblin brain. He's rejecting capitalism on principle because he's someone who saw through the system and chose freedom. So, Stardew Valley does allow you to reject the system. And if you choose not to, it makes sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. The world turns blue, cold, lifeless. You've made the ultimate sacrifice, but get the ultimate reward. The soda machine. It fucking sucks. This thing gives you 1 Yoya Cola per day that restores 5 health and 13 energy. A raw potato, gives you better stats than the final item of the game. You just destroyed a community for what can only be described as the ultimate garbage. Congratulations. You played yourself. Well, at least you didn't have to electrify your dog or something. Even capitalists aren't that monstrous. Obviously, the Jojo Mart ending is definitely not satisfying. But that's the point. Aiming only for material wealth is bad. And it's something capitalism is constantly criticized for. But reverse that with the communist ending. After completing all bundles, the Junimos restore the community center and say goodbye before leaving. But unlike the Joja ending, the world is sunny, warm, and it focuses on the community center's reopening. Major Lewis is there and presents you with the Stardew Hero Trophy, which he declares is the most prestigious award a resident of Stardew Valley could receive. But if that isn't enough, then Morris shows up, and in a very communist fashion, you are given 2 choices: to be reasonable or old-fashioned way, Pierre, the local shopkeeper, will taunt Morris into a fight. But the interesting thing here is that Morris isn't provoked by insults. It's only when Pierre insults the Georgian name directly that Morris leaps into action. Because you see, Morris is not really a man, he's a cog. A cog in the capitalist machine. What? What the fuck? So Morris jumps out and attacks Pierre. And during their intense fight, Pierre punches Morris so hard he flies out the building. I cannot make this up. Morris loses, capitalism loses, and the community has won. Everyone is happy. Well, except Morris, of course. But why is there such a strong contrast between the endings? It's because the game is telling you capitalism gives you stuff, but it destroys the community. Magic and meaning. But communism, on the other hand, gives you pride, celebration, and a restored world. This isn't accidental game design. This is intentional messaging. So, the story critiques capitalism, the endings reward communism, but maybe that's just me reading between the lines. Except, the game mechanics force you to play this way too. Stardew Valley doesn't have private property. You can fish anywhere, you can mine without a permit, and you can pass out from exhaustion at 2 a.m. in the middle of town and wake up in your bed with a note saying someone went through your pockets. There's no trespassing laws, no privacy rights, and no restraining orders. That's great. Unless it happens to me. And even your farm follows these rules. You can expand infinitely, building barns, coops, more coops, sheds, fish ponds, even more coops, 17 coops. Do you need them? You don't, but you can, because there's no property taxes. But the strongest evidence is the one most people neglect. The game literally lets you waltz into someone's home and just lets you stand there. Watching them. You can watch Haley do her morning routine. You can watch Demetrius work in the lab. You can follow Pierre around his house all day like a total psychopath. And nobody calls the cops. Nobody screams. Because in this world, there's no such thing as trespassing. Of course, you can enter some private rooms, like bedrooms. But that's not because it's illegal or morally wrong. It's because you just don't have enough friendship points yet. The only thing stopping you from watching someone sleep isn't the law. It's that you haven't given them enough gifts. So the mechanics really reinforce the idea that private property doesn't exist. But what else do they reinforce? Bada beam, bada boom, the seed maker. An interesting item that is unlocked at farming level 9. It basically allows players to convert harvested crops into seeds, so you don't have to be Pierre's bitch anymore. The game is giving you a tool to escape the capitalist marketplace. You don't need Pierre. You can produce everything yourself. That's a communist dream. Workers controlling their own means of production. If you plant a seed, you harvest a crop, you sell it for exactly what's worth. Well, sort of. Because remember, the communism likes to go boom boom on capitalism. Because even Pierre, the quote-unquote good local shopkeeper, exploits you. Excuse me? Your vegetables, your labor, your sweat, and this man, this absolute weasel, takes credit for it? The game is showing you that even ethical capitalism is a scam. There is no good boss. There's just the one who smiles while he steals from you. But at least he pays you for your contributions. Well, at least until you start playing with friends. Unlike other games, like Borderlands, where everyone gets their own copy of the money, Stardew Valley forces you to share one wallet. Which means if your buddy is a broke ass who can't farm to save his life, guess what? He's spending your money. There are no individual accounts. You're forced to share your money, your land, everything. Some people defend this, saying it creates cooperation. Really? Have you perchance heard of a little thing called Minecraft? In fact, have you heard of any co-op game forcing you to share a joint account? I perchance didn't think so. But the game doesn't only want you to cooperate with other players. The game will not shut up about community events. Skip the luau, the game remembers. Everyone remembers. Lewis gives you the stink eye. Pierre mentions it. Even your spouse is like, so you didn't go? These aren't optional social gatherings. They're mandatory friendship audits. Miss one and the whole town thinks you're a capitalist hermit. Okay, that might not be entirely true, but skipping events does make you lose all of these items. So yeah, attending community events matters a lot. And if you still don't believe me because you're a stubborn bastard, let me show you the most damning evidence. Grandpa's evaluation system. Turns out he doesn't just dip out forever. He set up an evaluation system, a tomb with 4 candles that light up based on how you're doing. Get enough points, all 4 candles light up and you get a special reward. But once you break down what each point actually represents, the message becomes crystal clear. You would assume farming games will reward you for getting rich, right? But here's what money gets you. A maximum of 7 points, even if you're a millionaire. And if you play Stardew Valley, you know how insanely hard it is to get this much money. Now let's look at community. Rebuilding the community center, 3 points. 5 friends at 8 hearts, 1 point. 10 friends at 8 hearts, 1 point. Blah, blah, blah. That's 7 points just from community stuff. The exact same as being a millionaire. But wait, you need 12 points to light up all of the candles. Where did the other 5 come from? Well, the remaining points come from things like maxing out your skills, finding the rusty key, finding the skull key, other stuff. These are neutral. They don't favor money or community. You'll get them either way by just playing. So here's the real comparison. You have Path 1, the capitalist route, where you need 7 points from being a millionaire and 5 points from other stuff, for a total of 12 points. And Path 2, the communist route, where you complete the community center and make friends, plus do some other stuff. Both get you to 12. But if you skip the community center and go Joja, you lose those 3 automatic points. Now you need to grind harder on money and skills to make up for it. The game literally makes it easier to win through community than through capitalism. So when Grandpa Ghost comes back to judge you, what does he care about? Not your money, it's your community. Light all 4 candles and you get the Statue of Perfection, which produces iridium ore every single day. It's the real ultimate reward. It's the game's way of saying you won. And you didn't get it by grinding for millions. You didn't get it by optimizing your tomato empire. You got it by making friends. That's communism. Crazy, right? But if you think that's bad, you should definitely